England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. But Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of our field gold. We are all supporters, and we come from Liverpool.
G'day everyone, and welcome to the match debate. Look at this, we've got like an indoor team, we've got like a futsal team. Look at our starting lineup. We're bringing in the big guns here. We are here. This is the match debate. We've got lots of match debaters here. Every time I say it, it sounds funnier and funnier, and people are probably getting tired of the joke. But tell you what, I'm not getting tired of it. Yeah, I should get over it. Well, that's Pete Kofinas, Peter the coach Kofinas. Pete's going well. We were having a chat beforehand off air. We're getting some jerseys, Pete, aren't we?
Yeah, we finally put that order in together. It's about 4 weeks too old, but we've put an order in. I think you got Firmino, right?
I got Firmino, and then you've got yourself a Curtis Jones just in time for the weekend's performance. And then my lovely partner got herself a Diogo Jota because she's Portuguese. So that's what's going on with the jersey department. We've got Nick Nova with us. Nick Koloski, how you going, Nick? You good?
Very well. Stomach is full. I, like you, had pasta this evening. Had pasta before we started, fitting the theme nice and red. And I've got my colour scheme in the back now, fitting the theme as well. So everything is good, bar the results over the weekend. But it could be much worse.
Could be much worse. And we've got Jimmy Nicholson. We call him Jimmy Robertson or just Robbo, our marauding left back over there. How you going, Jimmy?
Yeah, thanks, Pete. If you're going to let me talk at some point, come on. I'm doing very well. If we're talking about food, I just was a bit late to the party. I was having some red steak before we started, ready for the show tonight.
We're all red, and we've also got our captain. We've actually got a captain of our futsal side here, our fiver side here. We've got Triago's father, 89, James. How you going, mate? You good?
Yeah, really good. Good to be here. Finally joining my team from down under. Can't wait to talk everything Liverpool, Brentford, because I'm sure PK has got some real strong opinions. And I'm obviously convinced that Jimmy has got some other strong opinions on the matter as well. So I'm going to let George lead this one and control the debate, because I can see it's going to be absolutely raging today, because PK looks like he's about to blow. So let's get into it.
Well, for those of you who don't, well, we just had a little bit of a Pete. He knew that the show was starting, Pete, and he just went like, Andy Robbo's not as good as Tsimikas, and then like the theme music went on, and then poor Jimmy couldn't get a word in because obviously Jimmy's our Scottish left back over there in representing Robbo, and Pete being Greek representing Tsimikas. So
hey, you're Greek too, man. Come on, what's going on here?
I'm a citizen of the world. Boxing. I reckon we should get the two of them in a ring, white collar, get it going. I'm here for
do a crossing competition
grenades and let it go off. Just throw that in there.
Yeah, what are you doing on this page? Anyway, sorry, George, keep going.
No, go on.
I was going to say, I thought, Steve is a lot more nicer. Steve doesn't start arguments straight away off the bat, and straight away we've had, Thiago's father come in and start a brawl. He wants us to fight all of a sudden.
Competition for
well, guys, as always, we are on the YouTube Red Sea podcast. So please, if you are watching this video, give it a like, shove it up the algorithm, as we always say. Actually, that sounded really bad. I just meant to push it up the algorithm. That's how they work it on YouTube. But anyway, in Australia, we say lots of weird things. We've got lots of weird slang. But be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are exclusively now on the YouTube. So those of you who have joined us from the Twitter, thank you very much. As it always works here, we'll just have a chat. And then if you guys are in the comments, be sure to flick us a comment, tell us what you're thinking, and then, we'll get you involved in the conversation. But I think it goes without saying, Brentford 3, Liverpool 3, that's where we're going to start. Obviously, it was a big weekend of footy. I want to start with you, Pete. All of our rivals dropped points. Liverpool had the chance to go top outright. But as it stands, we've got to wait for Brighton's result. So it's kind of bittersweet, not really, because we're top. We've got the points. We've got the job done. The only thing I'm going to say to you as I pass it on to you is, I keep bringing this up. Jurgen Klopp said the Southampton draw where Milner misses that penalty, where Fraser Forster, that big giant idiot, saved the pen, and he was like all in his ear. And Jurgen Klopp said in the battle for fourth, when we ended up beating Middlesbrough 3-0, he said in the battle for fourth, this will be a point gained. Was he talking broken biscuits? I don't know. We ended up coming fourth that season. He keeps talking about these draws. We had the draw last season to Leeds United. We ended up coming third. Maybe this will be a point gained because Brentford are kind of weird. They're kind of chaotic and crazy. But how are you seeing it, Pete? Brentford 3, Liverpool 3.
If you want to talk about draws, the year that we finished second on, 97 points, whatever it was because we drew too many. So there's a start on that. But I mean, again, to lose one game all year and finish second, that's another story. But look, the game on the weekend, so you look at the Chelsea game, right? We had a chance when they went down to 10 men, second half, massive pressure second half because you beat them and you take some points off your title rivals. We buckled. We felt flat. We didn't know how to break it down. It didn't happen. We enter the weekend against Brentford where Chelsea had dropped points, Manchester United had dropped points. And it's our turn to potentially actually create a bit of a distance at the top. And we buckled. So I don't think it's something that a point gained, I look at it as points lost, especially in the matter of the way the goals we conceded. I think that was absolute sloppy and a defensive performance we hope we never see again because they scored 3 against us. And we said in the training ground, George, we said they're dangerous. Don't take them lightly. They're going to be, non-stop action freedom. But it's defend like that against Manchester City and we'll cop 6.
It's really weird because I think it's kind of I want to throw this one to you, James. Thiago's father, James. We'll call Jimmy Nicholson Jimmy. We'll go James up the top corner with Thiago's father. I want to throw this one to you because do you think that in that game, does it seem like Liverpool concede those dumb goals only against like the lower opposition? I mean, Peter's saying there, if that happens against Manchester City, we're going to get rinsed. But it looks like that our team just seems to just switch off against these lower sides. Hopefully, the lads will get it right for City. Are you confident that we will kind of just tighten up at the back there?
I think so. I mean, I said it on the show, on the UK-based show, that to me it just smells of disrespect to the opponent. Like we saw a similar thing in the Villa game last year, the 7-2. It was just nonchalant behavior, like total lack of respect for the opponent. And you can't go into these games in the Premier League thinking that teams aren't going to turn up and play against you. We're one of probably 4 or 5 cup finals for Brentford. When they come up against Liverpool, they're gonna play out of their skin. They come up against a City, they're gonna play out of their skin. They come up against Manchester United, they're gonna play out of their skin. They're gonna be eager to produce performances which show that they belong in this league. And there's no bigger stage than to play Liverpool Football Club at home in front of a packed stadium, to go out and potentially, let's be clear, almost win it 4-3 because Ivan Toney sticks that one away, marginally offside. That's forcing VAR or the Lino and the referee to make a decision. We were incredibly lucky. That squeaky bum time, but the whole back four. Do you know what? I'll probably give Van Dijk a little bit of leeway, but the defensive frailties were just caused by just total disrespect to the opponent. That's how I see it.
Well, you're talking about the defensive performance. I want to throw this one at both of you guys. I'll go to you first, Nick. It's that idea of we were talking about this, and you're going to see it in the bottom left-hand corner here. I've written it this way: Trent unfairly isolated at the back post, because I didn't want to use the word targeted because it makes it sound like that he can be targeted. No, I mean if you stick anybody back there and they've got 4 people on them and they're asked to win a header, I actually might go to that Twitter post from our mate Baba Yagu, that Pete brought up for us. I might pull that up in a second, but I'll go to you first, Nick. It's kind of like our team didn't really help our defense. I mean, our defense was there and they had to do their job, but also Klopp didn't help Trent. I mean, we've got to figure out how to deal with them overloading 3 players on our poor right back there.
Yeah, well, there was the image that we saw, I think someone pointed out on Twitter, where you see 3 defenders basically, surrounding Trent as we're moving back. I think that was second or third goal how it was conceded. And Henderson, who's normally there or around Trent doing a good job, sort of like holding him back, is sort of like halfway up the pitch and he's really nowhere to be seen. And everyone's sort of shifted to the left following the ball and he's been left by himself. So I don't know if that's a thing like, look, leave Trent by himself so there's space to operate, play on the left, pump balls out wide for Trent. see what happens. But the whole setup was very weird. It's been a long time since I've watched us play, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm a little bit nervy and worried every time the opposition get the ball going forward. And this one, like the title says, it was shades of like Liverpool old, where we could score goals, but we also couldn't defend against goals. And before this game, we'd only conceded 1 in like 6 rounds, and then we've conceded 3, possibly even more. But then again, we could have scored goals ourselves. But it's not going forward. It's at the defensive side that's really going to sort of like test us this season. Because if we're going to be chopping and changing some defenders, there has to be some sort of rhythm in there. And if Trent is going to be the player who's targeted or isolated or whatever, it's happened against United a few times. So we know that's the goal there. I don't know. Maybe we need to change our approach when we're playing against certain teams like Brentford who do like to attack. But we should have been more aware that, hey, this guy's got 3 players around him and there's no one else helping him out. Maybe we need to rejig something in the midfield.
Yeah, and as Hector says here, game was very bad. I was like watching Liverpool in 2016. Yeah, defense was bad and our attack didn't take their chances. I'm going to get back to that actually, Hector, that idea of our attack not taking their chances. But then there's also this thing here from this comment here from Chris Welch. Brentford front 2, I can't say that properly, Wemo and Tony caused us a lot of problems. Me and Pete actually brought this up in our pre-match in the training ground, Jimmy. Do you reckon there was anything that Klopp could have done to change how they targeted Trent at the back there? We've seen him in the last 10 minutes do this whole thing of bringing on the third centre-back. Maybe he brings on Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez plays as like the augmented fullback that kind of sits back, and then Trent is all of a sudden our right winger. And all of a sudden you've got 2 players, and maybe Matip feels a little bit more inclined to come across. He could have done something there, but he's gone for the whole 4-2-3-1 thing. But, I mean, that should be Henderson at right defensive mid kind of helping out. But instead, we actually see him bombing on, in some of our attacks.
Yeah, it was a strange one. I think probably the first thing that we could have done was probably not take Curtis Jones off and change formation. I think that really set us up for failure, if I'm being honest. We had already conceded 2 goals by that point, but surely if you've done that against this Brentford side, who realistically have no expectations, everything's just open for them to take week in, week out and see where they end up, whereas we're the ones that are putting the expectations on ourselves. We've really got to make sure that we are managing that kind of threat in those games, in those particular moments. I think going for the 4-2-3-1's really set ourselves up really good going forward, and we've seen it time before, many times when we've played a 4-2-3-1. Going forward, we can look dangerous, we can create fantastic options, but we seem to get carried away and we seem to get ourselves stuck and we seem to leave ourselves exposed at the back. And when you've got 20-30 minutes left when Brentford are trying to pile on pressure, 15-20 minutes left when Brentford are trying to pile on pressure, it's not going to sit too well. If we had kept a 4-3-3 formation, if we had brought someone on who can still work that defensive midfield role, who's got the really high work rate, like James Milner, for example, then you've got plenty of coverage in there, you've got plenty of support. But unfortunately, by switching it up, we've left ourselves exposed. If we do bring on an extra centre-back, then that does offer us something really good, but we've seen it in the past as well, where we've brought on an extra centre-back for the last 5-10 minutes, and we've looked even more exposed at times. So it's a real hard balancing act, but I think only making one substitute, and making that one substitute a change in midfield, and then putting more players in an attacking formation, I think that's what cost us.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's this idea of what should Liverpool do to answer the whole let's overload Trent side. And I think Klopp's answer was let's win this 6-2, let's win this 7-2, it reminds me of Rodgers when we had to win big against Crystal Palace. And that I would put down to our front players not performing. And that comes back to what Hector Jones was talking about here. He's saying the attack didn't take their chances. I also just wanted to shout out here to Chris Welch here, the Bournemouth 4-3. That was the Emre Can game, was it not? Where he plays fantastically well, but it's Loris Karius who I think makes that blunder at the end of the game, sign of things to come from him. But yeah, I think it felt like that maybe Klopp was trying to win the game by attacking, and maybe like Brentford would have had to have had a player, somewhere that was not defending if they're all the way up the front. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to throw this one at you, Pete. Was it a centre-back, or who were they throwing up to go on to Trent? Who was it? There's 3 players there. And I might bring up should I bring up the image?
You bring them up, but the thing is, we actually brought this up on the training ground itself. How we said that what they try to do is create space down the left side, and they allow Tony. I think it's I can't even pronounce his name now. Norgout or something like that, whatever it is.
Norgard.
And they both, the Norgard. They like to both run into those channels. So if nobody's like us can figure it out, and this is what they're going to do on the training ground, then surely they've done the exact same analysis and realized that they literally overload their left. And look at this, like that's meant to be our DM circled.
Yeah,
that's
Henderson,
Jordan Henderson. Yeah, so that's our DM, right side of DM, who's higher than literally everybody in the team. So that there, he should be closer to Trent, protecting that on 3v1. And on top of that, maybe Allison should be organising something a little bit differently there, because he obviously can see the picture better. But that's just the third goal. The first and second goal were the exact same. He was literally just rammed to some form of like gangbang on Trent. It was unbelievable.
Well, we brought up Mbeumo and Tony in the pre-match when we were talking about their danger, Brentford's danger going forward, especially with Tony coming in and working in the pockets and also coming out left. And we knew, Pete, that we weren't very happy about the idea that they're going to target the left-hand side, especially now that we've seen the game and they did actually target in the air. So it worked wonders for them. But I want to go back to that idea of our front three. I just wanted to get your guys' opinions. I'm going to go back to you, Thiago's father, James. I mean, like I said before, what was Klopp's answer? I think he saw the gaps and then he's done the 4-2-3-1. He said, these two are going to screen and then the front four are just going to score us goals. I mean, if they don't score your goals, then it kind of doesn't work for you. Now, this is the context, though. Their goalkeeper has an absolute screamer of a game. Jota misses from right in front. Mane misses from right in front. Salah misses from right in front. My opinion of it is I'm not as cut up about the match. It's frustrating, but I always say this. I do the old Alex Ferguson. When Andy Cole and Dwight York weren't scoring, he said, as long as they're getting in their positions to score, and I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will say that as well. Maybe it's our defense that's let us down, but look, our attackers, they were misfiring. Maybe on another day we win 7-2.
I have a slightly different view.
Mm-hmm.
Those are gilt-edged chances. The one where Reyes made the save, I'm sorry, that ball should be getting rammed down his throat. You're taking the goalkeeper out. You're putting that ball in the back of the net. You give him no, and I refer to it like my lad plays in goal, and he's an exceptionally talented goalkeeper. But I always say to my lad, in those positions, strikers are going to look to break your heart, and that's what you got to do. You got to break the goalkeeper's heart. You anticipate the movement of the goalkeeper. If you see him coming across, because he's fully committed, why are you placing it there? Put it the other side of him. He's not getting there. The finish was predictable. So the goalkeeper's been able to make that reaction save. And again, that's not taking any credit away from Raya from the save, because it was an outstanding save. He actually makes a save with the awkward hand, which then takes a deflection around the post. So it's a fantastic reflex save, but you know, a striker of that level, you should be burying that. And then the Salah one, where he's almost tried to overcomplicate the finish rather than just slipping it down the side of it.
Look at Pete right now. Yeah. He's doing the Patrick Stewart face palm from Star Trek.
He's tried to overcomplicate the finish rather than just slipping it down the side of him like he did for his first goal. He's tried to lift it over him, and again, it just comes back to my initial point of you're trying to disrespect the opponent. Finish the ball. It's easy. Put it down the side of him. He would have had no chance. Instead, you've gone for the nice, elegant, lofted finish, and you put it over the bar. It just, frustrating. Just frustrating. And I feel players of that level should be doing better. We should be doing better. And I always have an analogy of don't be average. Don't be average. Yeah. Our strikers in that game were distinctly average. And that's a worry for me. It's got nothing to do with ability, everything to do with application, which is the thing I struggle with.
Well, that's interesting that you talk about worry, because I do want to throw this one to all of our viewers there in the comments for those who are jumping in and out. And I just want to do this as a quick fire to all of you guys on our panel, our futsal side here, our fiver side. This is what I'm talking. This is the question that's going to come up on the screen now. Should we be worried about the result? Now, me personally, I'm not. I'm one of those. I got, what do you call them? The top reds, the ones that has the, I'm always happy about things. I think I'm always a little bit Jurgen Klopp, not the best situation, but we work with it. We work with it. So I'm going to go to you first, Nick, and all of you guys can just give me a very quick one about whether you're worried about the result. And you guys in the comments, are you worried about this result? Nick, is it something that you would be worried about here?
I wouldn't say worried, but the frustration is definitely there because we had a chance to go 4-2 up and then we missed that chance. And even our group chat was like, what's the bet that this bites us in the ass? When it did, but we had a couple of chances to score a few goals. To be fair, without the Salah chance, I think Mane had one. I think he hit straight over. Jota had one as well. Again, another one, and we had a few chances to solidify this match and maybe take the wind out of Brentford in the 70th minute or whatever it was, but. Ultimately, it's a 3-3 game, very exciting. A lot of people were either saying like, "Oh, this is why Liverpool won't win the league," or "This is why Brentford will stay in the league." And if they're going to play like that, then cool, no dramas for Brentford. But for us, it's not a worry as much as it is a frustration because that result was really in our own hands, and we crumbled through a set piece. 3 or 4 ricochets that, and don't forget we had goal on clearances. Salah had one off the line, and we also needed Matip to clear one off the line, and it was the slowest goal on clearance you'll ever see in your life. From
no context, Joel Matip.
Oh, mate.
You think that channel's going to die sometime because he's going to stop doing weird stuff, and then every single week that guy just must be like, oh yeah, he doesn't have to do any work because people are finding the content for him because they post it going, look, no context, Joel Matip, and the guy's just retweeting it going, this is great, making t-shirts, making money, guys having a lovely time. Jimmy, would you be worried about results at all here? Hector Joseph here said he nearly punched Salah on his TV. He should he should finish like. This is
an expensive weekend.
What are you thinking? Is it just one of those?
I think if you're going to have one of those games, I would rather you're having it game week 6 rather than game week 36. I think that's how I was trying to look at it. If we were in that position and we've managed to drop 2 points, there's 2 games left and we're neck and neck when it's going for the title, then that's when I'm really starting to panic. That's when I'm really feeling downhearted. After that game, it's more what Nick's saying. It's more frustration. I'm watching the game. I actually really appreciated the way Brentford came out and the way that they played. It was just frustrating seeing how casual that we were. You guys talked about it on the training ground. Everyone's been talking about what to expect, and you can't take any game lightly, especially when you're coming up against a new side. It's very plucky, like what they are. And we just went out and just 60-70% is good enough. It's not in the Premier League. You can never give that sort of level. You always have to be given 95-100% minimum every single week. So at this time, we're sitting top of the league. We're 1 point ahead right now. That's fine. I can accept that. But like I say, if this was at the other end of the season, that's when I'd be really, really sweating.
Yeah, well, just going to the comments here, it seems like it's that same theme, it's and this is a good thing. All of us as fans, we've learned. That's why it's great to have Jurgen Klopp, someone like Jurgen Klopp as our manager. He inherited such a, sorry, Liverpool fans, we're all the same. We're a bit toxic and poisonous in the sense that we were just so heartbroken by being let down so many times. And he washed us, he just kind of told us to calm down. We were celebrating draws and whatnot. So it's really great here to see, comments like Chris Welch, and we're going to get Hector saying the exact same thing. It's frustration rather than worry, which is great. Even after the season we had last year, it's great to see that we're, frustrated, not the result we wanted, but we didn't lose. We gained a point on Chelsea. We're going to beat Manchester City easily, he was told. So, it was really great to see Chelsea kind of get brought back from their head were in the clouds a little bit here. Hector Joseph was saying the same thing there. It's not a worry, but it's a bit frustrating. Imagine winning that game and then killing Man City next. That's kind of what we'll move on to, is this idea of if we beat Man City, I guess everybody forgets about Brentford. And we've got Rahul coming in. Thanks for joining us, Rahul. Welcome. Frustrating, but we were wasteful with our chances this season. would say Ivan Toney would be an excellent addition. Wow, he's read my mind. That's actually one of my things I was going to bring up. I'm not sure if we should go there straight away. Yeah, where's Gareth Davies? Where's Manchester United?
Just chill here.
Yeah, that's not the focus.
Yeah. So Pete, would you be worried about the result? Are you just looking forward to smashing? Next week?
Anyone who thinks that we're going to go unbeaten all years is like, no offense, is a dead set moron though. Like, we're going to drop points, and guess what? That game's going to happen again. Don't know when, but we're going to draw again. We're going to lose. We're not going to win every game. That's fine, and I've accepted that, and that's okay. The events that happened in the game pissed me off more than the actual result itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I bet you this one pissed you off. I'm assuming.
Oh,
yeah, I've just finished putting a crack in the wall. I just finished the patching the crack in the wall from the weekend, actually, from that.
And that's your house, Pete. That's your house.
It is. That's
You're
right.
not renting. That's
right.
yours. So you can do that. You can break as many walls as you want.
That's why I have to fix it too. So, but it's like for example, that's what Fabinho's first, let's say, brain fart ever at the back post there, which you can accept. It's fine. But just the way things happen, like that, the way that Van Dijk lost a header for I think it was their second goal, whatever it was. Van Dijk doesn't lose headers. How did he? He just it was like a flop, soft little kind of pointless jump. It's like, it doesn't happen. We don't see that. I think that's why the event itself just was super, like the Salah chip. What are you doing? What are you doing? Just slot it in. And it's game over. That's the difference between, and I think, we celebrate his 100th goal, fastest ever Liverpool player to get to 100 Premier League goals, whatever it is. And congratulations, because he deserved it. But he could be on 200 by now because of those things. It's the truth. He could be on 200, but going on the sub, Klopp said in his thing, I put 2 DM to deal with the second ball. Okay, so you went from 3 midfielders to 2. So again, we're being overloaded already as it was. So now you want to get, it was 1 versus 3 at one stage. So, and the balls were coming from wide areas. So without that extra player on the width of the midfield, you couldn't get close enough to stop the balls from coming in long. So you sacrificed a midfielder.
And there's your DM.
And that's by the way, not just, that's okay. Apparently we're not allowed to say anything about Henderson, but it's not just that moment there. There were games. There was a moment in the bloody game where he was in front of Salah, making a run beyond as one of the DMs. So if the idea was to play 2 DMs to solidify the game, then either Klopp got that so fucking wrong, or the players didn't understand they were meant to hold the defense, because Trent was overloaded again for the 3rd goal, which is meant to be a defensive midfielder's job to help him, as we just seen him there cruising at halfway. So the sub for me, if he brought on Milner, I say perfect. I get it. I understand it. But if you wanted to bring on Firmino, drag Mane off and put Jota left and put Firmino at the front, because Firmino defends better up the front than any other player that we've got. So defensively, Firmino's up there defending great. He's our best defender from the front, and no one can debate that. That's fine. But I didn't even know what that was. Honest to God.
Yeah, well, we've got Chris here saying Curtis Jones was our best player on the pitch. Possibly. Thiago's father, James, I want to come to you on this. Do you think it was a mistake to go to the 4-2-3-1? Again, like I said, I can understand what Klopp was doing. He was trying to punish their adventure and their boisterousness going forward. I mean,
but it played
do you
into
think
their
it was a
hands.
mistake? It played into their hands a little bit. I mean, do you think it was a mistake to take off Curtis Jones? Do you think, because sometimes you get that where a player's kind of coasting in the game and, I mean, Curtis Jones was playing well, but then he scores that screamer, and I have a feeling that Klopp in his mind just didn't want to do the whole thing of, I don't want him to stay on just because he's scored a goal. It's not about scoring the goals. It's about what you do in the game. I mean, do you think it was, in hindsight, a mistake to take off Curtis Jones and go to the 4-2-3-1?
Where to start? I mean, just quickly on the response from the Brentford one. Was that a bad, or was it points dropped or not? I just think it depends on the response. If there's an emphatic response against Porto, which sets us up nicely for City, then it's forgotten about. It's like it never happened. But the response at Porto has to be emphatic. Like I'm talking, we need to go to Porto and just close the group off. Just close it off. Just tell them to say, we're taking top spot. It's emphatic. That's it. Roll into the City game with bags of confidence at Anfield. and go out there and give a good account of ourselves. We go in that game and we compete. I'm not sitting here saying that we're going to win it, but we go into that game and we compete. That way you can turn around and say that the Brentford game was just a blip. It was a freak. It was a freak of nature in terms of a game. It was a wild one, as a lot of people have been saying on online, Virgil van Dijk, Henderson, so on and so forth. It was a wild game. Cool. In terms of the change in formation to the 4-2-3-1, I can understand why Klopp did it, but he has come in for some criticism based on the timing of his decisions. That's all. That's the only thing I would indicate. Was it the right time to do that at that point? Was it the right time to take Curtis Jones out at that point? Because me and Pete have been critical of Curtis Jones in the past in terms of not that he lacks ability. We've spoken about whether he does the basics right, and in that display against Brentford, he was doing everything. Ball retention was good. Ball movement was good. Timing of pass was good. Weight of pass was good. When to get forward, when to drop to receive the ball, when to combine with other players, when to try and make them forward runs. He was exceptional. Probably up until he got substitute, was probably our best player on the pitch. And then he slaps that emphatic, like the finish was just insane. He was like, "Here you go, Rain, I have that. What are you going to do with that one?" Yeah, do you know what I mean? And yes, it takes a slight deflection, but that hasn't helped or made it any better. It's just compounded the fact that was going top bins, and the keeper had no chance. So he scores a worldie. He's high on confidence. A celebration. You see what it means to him. The adulation. All his teammates around him, and then his number gets held up, and you see the look in his face, like, really, like, really? Do you know what I mean? Thinking, what more have I got to do in order for you to trust me? And again, we spoke about this, me and Pete, on the Fab 4 show that we did. The manager has got to build trust in you, and that performance goes a long way to solidify that trust. I think Curtis Jones comes in against Porto, and I think we see an equally as an outstanding performance. The 4-2-3-1, yeah, he's done it to try and peg Brentford back and say, do you know what? Yes, we'll win the second balls, and then what we'll do is we'll get the ball forward quickly and we'll open you up. Because once you win that second ball, it's about how quick can you act in the transition, how quick can you get it forward and turn them over. Because naturally, if the balls come forward, the whole of Brentford have shifted forward and they're exposed at the back. And that would have probably been the idea behind it. But it didn't work, did it? We worked out 3-3 instead of 5-2 or whatever could have been the scoreline.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, it's kind of one of those things that, like, if we win the game, maybe we go on and say 4-2-3-1 was a great decision. I do like what Rahul has said here. No issue with the Jones substitution. They were passing our midfield. Could get why Firmino came on. Just shows that Minamino still doesn't have the trust of the manager. I'll throw this one at you, Nick. It's just this idea of, us not really using our squad. Again, this is the thing that Klopp does at the beginning of the season. He likes just to keep that starting 11 fairly strict. Let's just say he likes to keep it streamlined, and he likes to take games in bunches. Would you have liked to have seen any of the players on the bench come on? I mean, they clearly don't have Jurgen Klopp's, or not that they clearly don't have Klopp's trust, but he doesn't look at that bench and go, these guys are going to win me the game. Would you have brought on anybody else in the game? Would you have brought on a Minamino, perhaps?
I mean, we saw him have a great game in the League Cup against Norwich, and Klopp came out again, and a lot of other football writers and pundits said, we actually do have a good player on our hands here in Minamino. We can see how good he is, but what good is him being good on the bench when he's not on the pitch helping us out? You know what I mean? It's the whole thing like, Origi is a great player. Okay, when he comes on the pitch, it doesn't really do much for us, like thus far this season perhaps, but we've seen Minamino already starting games. Even last season, he was more effective than some of the other players that would come on off the bench. So I don't understand why you big up a player so much like Taki. You play him in a League Cup, he does well, and you reward him with being on the bench again. Now, granted, he probably didn't want to start him, but you would have at least had in the back of your head, okay, you know what? You actually scored a few goals playing off the defender's shoulder. Maybe Brentford aren't going to play that way, but what you can do is go deep a little bit more like you used to play at Salzburg, and when you see a break on, you know you can transition with Salah and Mane or Jota or whoever the hell is playing on there. Another one you probably would have thought, maybe not in an attacking sense, but I just want to throw this out there, like Tsimikas, for example. Like Robbo had arguably his worst game for us in a long time, and it's no slight on anyone here, but he has had better form, you know what I mean? So if you can see Robertson's actually not really doing anything, you're trying to play from the left side, bring on Tsimikas. Maybe he can do something with Mane and Jones on that left wing, because they seem to have worked together. Keita injured. Maybe Keita might have been a better option in the midfield, but this is where we're at now. So we don't really have those options to muck around with. But I would have loved to have seen Minamino jump on at least for like 15, 20 minutes. Mane off, Minamino on. Something, you know?
Well, Nick, you've just brought up
Peter's fire.
Here we go.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm sure.
Where's the extinguisher?
Okay, here we go.
Jimmy,
here we go. This is
Jimmy.
you guys in the comments.
Jimmy, this is framed.
This is it. Well, look. You guys in the comments have got a bit quiet. So here's one for all of you guys. Chris. By the way, I'll just pull up Chris Welch here. We'll get to this. I've got a little topic around this. Keita injured, pretending to be shocked. Yeah, I mean, I reckon Chris actually made a joke, Pete. I wouldn't be surprised if he made an actual joke a few weeks ago about Keita kicking the ground and breaking his toenail. So I tell you what, Chris, you've accidentally predicted that Naby Keita might be injured for us. But let's go back to what Nick accidentally brought up here, because we've got our two fellas there at the bottom of the screen. We got Robbo versus Costas. Is it time for the Greek Scouser? We've got a match here. You guys,
bloody hell.
You guys. We got The Rock and we got the British Bulldog. That's as close as I can get. I don't know are there any other Scottish wrestlers. No, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Was he Scottish? I think he was. There we go. I know my wrestling. You guys in the comments, let us know. Is it time for the Greek Scouser? Come on, show us what you got. But I call you Robert all the time, Jimmy. But what are your thoughts on Andy Robertson over the weekend? He also wasn't very impressive against Chelsea. I mean, Tsimikas just keeps coming in and ticking over. Now, I'm not one of these like Robbo versus Tsimikas things. I just want the players to be played on merit. I still think Robbo is our best left back, but I mean, it looks like it might be time to trust Costas a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. I think Andy Robertson is our best left back currently at the moment, but I think the reality is since he came into the side and he really took over from Alberto Moreno, he's not had competition. All he's had is the freedom to do what he needs to do, and he's done it fantastically. There's no denying that. But I think we now have to be realistic and say, well, is he maybe starting to get comfortable? Is he starting to become a bit inconsistent? Are we really seeing the same output that we remember when Andy Robertson first came into the side, when he ran about 200 yards chasing the ball against Manchester City? Everyone remembers that, right? You see that video almost on a monthly basis. He's still got the energy, which is absolutely fantastic, and he's like an Energizer bunny. He never stops. But his output in terms of what he's doing with the ball when it's at his feet, or in terms of his deliveries, that's what's starting to get questionable. And when you compare it against what Tsimikas has been offering so far this season, and he's not had a huge run in the side, Tsimikas. He's had a handful of games, but when he's played those handful of games, you can see what he's doing. The game that we had the other week when he was taking the corners, and we've got a couple of goals from that.
Leeds United,
Leeds United, thank you. It's clear that we have another quality left back, and it would be foolish to not play them off against each other in a competitive, positive sense, because you want the best from both players, right? It's a long season. When you're playing Champions League, you're also playing in the Cup, so you also got obviously the Premier League as well. You need both players to be fighting fit and ready every week, because you want to make sure that you're selecting your best 11. Of course, Andy Robertson, when you look at it on paper, has all the goods, but when you've got someone like Tsimikas who's lighting a fire up under his backside, you really need to start asking questions about who's going to have to step in. I think it probably sounds harsh, but maybe Robbo needs to take a break for a week or two, a couple of games. Tsimikas needs to get his opportunity against some meatier sides in the Champions League, Manchester City potentially. It probably sounds like a big call, but Sadio Mane took a game out, came back, scored his goal against Crystal Palace. Sometimes players need that. It's not a bad thing, and it's not a criticism against who they are or questioning their talents. We know how talented he is, but when you've got someone like Tsimikas who can come in, step up, and potentially set the expectation once again for Robbo, I think we need to really look into that. So when it comes to between the two, I'm not saying one's better than the other. Slightly.
Well, I mean, Chris Welch here says, remember, we've got legendary James Milner as emergency left back to Robertson, and then puts the zipped face emoji. But I do really like this. I like this that Chris has said this, and immediately as Chris said this, it made sense to me. And it's actually like it's the only thing that can possibly happen. I think Tsimikas comes in for Porto and then Robertson for City just because of pure fitness. But I think if we could like FIFA, where you could like give them like a you just apply an item and then their fitness is magically like up, they just turn into 100 fitness. I would say what Hector says here. I'd rather Robbo go again against Porto, maybe to get his confidence back. Again, not to suggest that Porto's going to be an easy game, but then Tsimikas against City. That feels like to me, I want us to play our best left back. Pete, I want to throw this one at you. What would you do with our left backs in this week? Would you go Robbo, Porto, Tsimikas, City, or would you do what Chris was saying, which is Tsimikas, Porto, Robbo? City?
I think to go first and foremost, if we had if Liverpool were playing a final tomorrow to tell me pick who you're going to play, I pick Robertson. So that's that. But you're talking about the situation what James said earlier about trying to get out of the group as quickly as possible. Then I think you've got to play the Champions League seasoned people who know how to get out of groups as soon as possible. And I think Robertson is probably the better person in that situation, hands down. Then you go look at the statistics at the moment for 2021. Robertson and Tsimikas have the same amount of assists, but Tsimikas has only played 4 games for Liverpool. So you're looking at you look at Manchester City, for example, which we are going to touch up on Thursday. Is how are we going to hurt Manchester City more than anything? I think physically we're a lot better than all of them across the pitch, size-wise, between Matip, Fabinho, Van Dijk. I think we're quite, again, Henderson in the air, very good. Jota, we've seen him in the air. So if a way to hurt Manchester City is through a set piece or a cross, at the moment, it can't just be Trent. Get the ball to Trent and let him kick it in the box and let's hope something happens. You look on the other side, who's got the better delivery? So if it's a way to hurt Manchester City, then Tsimikas has a better arsenal in terms of getting something delivered into the box, whether it's a corner set piece or just a cross as the match goes. Now, who they're playing at right wing at the moment is Jesus, with Phil Foden playing central as a false 9. I don't think Jesus can cause Robbo any problems, to be honest. I don't think Jesus causes Tsimikas problems, but I think Kyle Walker does. So you got to look at it that way too. You got to look at it as the package, not who's in form. And it's hard to come up with an answer. If you're going to think, I think getting in behind City is the way we're going to hurt them, because the way they put their fullbacks rolling in central to create the overload in the midfield, which we're going to touch up on, I'm sure. And there's little spaces there. So I think between Jota, Mane, or whoever it is, Salah running into the spaces created, I think Tsimikas potentially is better right now at hurting people in those spaces by delivering something in.
Well, it's something that we saw, moving away from the left backs here. It's something that we saw in the game. You just go to like your basic match ratings, and look, this is. I'm trying to create headlines here. I'm trying to get a activity going. I mean, show of hands for whoever wants to answer the question with regards to. I'll pass it over to Thiago's father. Is this a midfield injury crisis? And I want to show you what I mean here is that, look, we don't usually do this on the show, but I thought I would. It's this idea of Pete loved this. Pete actually showed me this Instagram post. It's our fans have noticed that Thiago has crutches on his... Someone's noticed that he's on crutches.
He's trying to hide the crutch. Look at him. He's trying to hide it.
Someone called David Caruso, man. This is CSI Miami levels of like shithousery right now.
So the reason I brought that up is and we're going to go to James firstly on this, Thiago's father. Is this a crisis? And the reason I put that second note in there is because last season I'm the top red here. I'm always talking the upside of everything. What was that, Pete?
He's a fence sitter. You've changed.
I'm a fence sitter, yeah. But at the beginning of last season, I was livid, Pete. Remember, I was going. We got rid of Dejan Lovren. We're not bringing in a centre back. they're gonna get
Yeah.
they're gonna get FUCK'd. They're absolutely gonna get rinsed. We're gonna lose our centre backs, and we're gonna pay for it in January. Watch, and it happened this season. I mean, look, I don't think we needed someone potentially in midfield, but people just said replace Ginny. That's all. It's the type of midfielder we lost. And now we're just getting Kate has fallen down. Thiago, I said when we signed him, he's sorry, I'm offending your son here, James. So sorry. But he had a questionable injury record. Now, is there a crisis going on? And have we not learned our lesson? Should we have replaced Ginny Wijnaldum? Go.
No crisis. I don't think we're at that point yet. I think if we were to lose another midfielder, then there's time to panic. There's time to panic. But at the moment, I don't see an injury crisis. All I want is for the players that we do have in those positions to contribute. There's enough bodies in that midfield. So when those players come in, they have to contribute. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain being one of them. When you come in and you get your opportunity, you must contribute. We've seen Curtis Jones come in against Brentford and he contributed immensely. Scored a goal, was at the heart of a lot of good stuff creatively. That's what I want from me and SS refer to them as the backup brigade. That's what I expect from the backup brigade. If Ox is to get a chance to come in, there's another body there. Curtis Jones is in there at the moment. That's another body. Obviously, you've got Fabinho, you've got Henderson there as well. That's 4 decent midfielders you can choose from. That's not even referring to the fact you've got Minamino that could potentially play in midfield if we change the shape slightly. That's 5. We're not at injury crisis stage, but I do feel where the worry comes from the supporters is that those players that do come in and when they come in, they're not contributing to the level which we need them to contribute. And that's the key thing. Yep. Naby Keita's availability is a frustration of mine, a huge frustration of mine. It's at the brunt of everything. And every time you discuss Naby Keita, the first thing that comes up is, is he going to be available? Do you know what I mean? And availability is the best ability. It's questionable. Are these injuries that bad that he can't play through them? Because you're a pro. Sometimes you got to play through little niggly bits and so on and so forth. And does the mental side come into it? I refer back to Daniel Sturridge all the time when I talk about the mental side of injuries. Sturridge was a player that he had a couple of bad injuries and then the mental thing kicked in. Did he trust his body? And does Naby Keita trust his body? Now we're not in the medical team. We don't know how bad this injury is. The blade of grass may have severed his toe. We don't know. Yeah, let's be honest.
Pure steel.
Yeah, may have severed his toe. It could be a almost like a paper cut on his toe, like that kind of level of injury, where he's on death's door. Who knows? But I'm just slightly concerned. Interestingly enough, news broke yesterday, and I can nor confirm nor deny the interest, but there is a lot of rumours swirling that Liverpool are interested and are about to make a bid for Yves Bissouma. Now, that could happen potentially in January.
Give them Ox. They can take Oxlade-Chamberlain and make it cheaper.
Well, the rumored tabled bid is £30 million for Yves Bissouma. Now, I think personally that will much depend on where Brighton are at in their league position. If Brighton are trudging around potential Europa League territory, yeah, Bissouma goes nowhere. He will go nowhere because they will turn around and say, hold on a second, we're knocking the door of Europa. £30 million. Imagine what we can earn if we get into the Europa League. It's a no from us, thank you. If Brighton are sort of mid-table, secure, yeah, they might turn around and say, do you know what? We'll let you have him. Yeah, he can go. So I do think there's some attention from Liverpool around that position in midfield. I don't think it's gone unnoticed, but we know what our owners are like. They don't go out and spend unless it's right. They make the right signing. Hence the Ibrahim Konate thing at the centre back. We needed a centre back. We were linked with so many different people. We didn't bring anybody in. In the summer, turns up this absolute colossal of a centre back in Ibrahim Konate. I think we'll see the same thing with the midfield. They'll make the right signing.
Yeah, I'm probably I agree with all of that, by the way. And I think what you said is kind of what Hector's saying here, and kind of like what I'm saying, which is at the face of it, it's not a crisis. But if one more thing happens, like it's like 80%, is that 80%? I don't know. Is it a 0% crisis and one more happens, then we're at a hundo? I'm not sure. But Hector here's saying it's an 80% crisis. We keep saying we have Ox, Milner, etc. Right now, Ox is not up to his game. That's one man short, another injury, then it's an emergency. I actually really agree with what he's saying about Ox is not up to his game, because we saw in that Norwich game, Ox was horrible in that first half.
Yeah.
And we actually saw him go center forward to try and play his way back into the game. It's almost like he's completely given up on the idea of playing center mid. And I think, again, if we just buy a forward, then Ox doesn't have to do 6 jobs at once, just sitting there going, what am I supposed to be, Firmino? Am I supposed to be... Because he was trying to play kind of like a striker when he was in centre mid against Norwich. He's had his back to goal. It's like, no, you got to receive and turn and try and break through that mid press or that mid line of whatever team you're versing. If it is Norwich, I mean, they're not very good at it at the moment. Clearly, they're doing poorly. So yeah, it's... We're always going to have these questions about whether we invested well enough. This is Rahul saying here, Basuma has 2 years left, so in Jan it could be on 18 months. Only issue would be he's away on African Cup, so we need another forward. Yeah, we got all these African players going away, although it's only 2 games apparently for our forwards. We've got the legend James Milner in our centre of midfield.
This makes sense. This makes sense why January is probably going to be a pivotal month for us in terms of transfers. We've got players departing for African Cup of Nations. You think Naby, you think Mane, Salah, that's going to leave us even more short. So I do think, before the Twitter timeline starts raging, I would like to see Liverpool dip into the market in January to bring someone in, whether it be in a forward position, whether it be in a midfield position. We need bodies, and ideally we need bodies that are going to contribute. I don't think we have to go out and buy stars, because Liverpool Football Club don't do that. They don't go and buy, and for huge periods of time, we haven't gone and brought ready-made players. Like Thiago was the last ready-made signing that we've brought for a long time in Thiago. Oh, and then Alisson Becker before that, you'd say was probably ready-made because of his career at Roma. He was absolutely sensational at Roma. But I just want players that are going to come in and have high enough ceilings to contribute. Simple as that.
Well, I'm not sure if Gareth is stirring the pot a little bit here. Chris saying doesn't say that, but with the names we're linked with, first of all, due to respect, is picking up Michelle Keegan, losing her and end up with Gemma. Oh, my goodness, don't know what that means. I'll probably have to read that one before I put her on the screen. I think there's an analogy there that we're reading.
Nick, help us out, man. This is your thing. Go, Nick.
I'm looking, mate. I'm looking. I'm looking.
But I do want to do this very quickly as we start to wrap up the show, and I think this is something that we should be talking about. I don't like talking about other teams, especially when we're talking about the Brentford 3, Liverpool 3 result. But it's just this idea of rival talk, because again, it's Liverpool dropping points. And what Nick? What are you laughing at? What was it?
He found what that comment was about.
Yeah,
what is it?
So Michelle Keegan, thumbs up. Gemma, thumbs down. Yeah.
Right. It's like picking up. Okay, I gotcha. So apparently Michelle Keegan.
I want the good one, and you get that's not really what I want, and it's not really going to serve me any real purpose. That's what he's saying. It's like you're picking up Michelle and losing her, and ended up with Gemma Collins. Yes. Yeah, that's what that is.
Well, there we go. We understand that one now. But just going back to this idea, I want to actually, Nick, now that I've got you here, just this idea of what are we thinking about Chelsea, City, and United now? I mean, United kind of look like they're the pretenders and whatnot, even though they've got these superstars. Finally, they go down. I mean, we were all waiting for them to have a slip up of some sort. But it's just so much better that it was this moment of Cristiano Ronaldo not getting the penalty, and then it's Bruno Fernandes, and it was just incredible. It couldn't have gone better in terms of a Manchester United capitulation, but also we've got Chelsea kind of just being weird. Have you guys seen that GIF or that meme of Azpilicueta like on top of Grealish?
Yeah,
it's just
he does that a lot, man. He does that a lot, and it pisses me off so effing much when he does it as well, man. He knows what he's doing. He's like the ultimate like bloke to just piss you off completely and have you like retaliate. And he gets up like, I'm not doing anything. Meanwhile, he's like hunched over you like this, like I'm not doing anything, but I'm over you like this. It's like, piss off, man. Get the hell off me. But going back to what you said there with United, speaking of, I might do a little plug now. I will be talking to some United fans leading up to our match in a couple of weeks' time on It's a Football Thing pod. You can't do it, Pete. I know you can't do it. You're not made for that sort of stuff. I know you're definitely not made for that stuff. But that's what I'll be on. I'll try and confirm the show there. But even then, like I've been listening to other football fans talk and pundits from all corners of the globe and hearing what they have to say about other teams. And you know, with Chelsea, they're probably still stated as being maybe the team to beat for the Premier League this season. But we saw City like put on a masterclass of pressure, continuous onslaught, no resentment, no, you know, to quote a classic movie, no retreat, no surrender. Like, we're not going to step back. We're getting points out of this game. And
the Tsimikas movie.
Glover the Greek.
So, you know, we can see City do something like that. Can they do that every week? Yes, they can. Are they going to have teams that will come up against them that will maybe find a way through? Because Chelsea looked like they were just ready to just defend and try and hit a counter-attack. Man, you're playing at home. How are you going to try and win a title defending at home like that? I don't know. In United's case, though, I think this result over the weekend against Villa has actually showed them that, okay, you know what? We've got Varane, we've got Ronaldo, we've got Sancho. We spent big money for him, and he's on the bench. Can't even get a game. Van der Beek as well. Like, you know, you bought him, and he's not even playing. Like, they have quality players. I think with another manager in that squad, I do think that they will actually come good. But at the moment, with Solskjaer or the I think Chris calls him the Norwegian golem or something like that.
You just got one there, another one. Norwegian bridesmaid.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I don't see anything really at the moment that'll say that they're going to be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. I mean, you can have your Ronaldos, you can have your Brunos, but when you don't have a manager who's got the faith of the team, faith of the fans, it's sort of, you can be a doubter. I get that. We were doubters to believers, all that, you know, good stuff. But Solskjaer, 3 years now, hasn't won anything. It really is, you know, time to, you know, shit or get off the toilet now for them. So I don't know if they're actually going to be challenging come the end of the season. They're probably going to be in or around that 4th position. But the thing is with them, because they've got the players off the bench they can bring onto the pitch, and we can as well, but we seem to have like both managers who are reluctant to bring on players who can actually change a game. Instead, you're going to go to old faithful Milner, go secure this win for us. He's like, bro, I'm 36, you know what I mean? Like, what do you expect me to do on a pitch? You know, it's those sorts of things.
Jimmy, are you? I mean, was your mind changed at all this weekend by the results from the rivals? Just again going by that gif of Azpilicueta being weird on Grealish. The reason I bring that up is because the the title was, does anyone else reckon Chelsea was just weird against Manchester City? And then they've got Cesar doing this weird like levitation body hump thing to Grealish. And you know what I love as well? Grealish doesn't react. Grealish is just like, take it easy, mate. And then he just leaves him, and then they both walk away. It was kind of like two animals fighting on like Animal Planet, and then they just walk away from each other peacefully. Jimmy, has your opinion changed of any of our rivals over this weekend? United look shitter to you right now? Does Chelsea look shitter? Does City look like more of a prospect?
I don't think my opinion's changed too much. I think we had a discussion about this a few weeks ago, a few of us, just around what are our rivals doing, what do we think. I think Nick pretty much hit the nail on the head with regards to Manchester City. They've got such a quality squad, and the football that they can play is absolutely phenomenal. But there's still that side that drop points at the most unexpected moment. I think back to last season, I think they dropped points against Leicester, Tottenham, Leeds United at home. That there was games lost where you would think that Manchester City were going to be in a really strong position to walk away with 3 points, and an easy 3 points at times. In terms of Manchester United, I don't really know what more can be said about Manchester United, to be honest, that hasn't already been said. There's phenomenal quality in the side, there's no doubt about that, but I think it's the ego that's driving them more than anything, rather than a quality setup and a quality
The ego, his name's
management.
Ronaldo. They call him the ego, but his name is Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, whilst Ronaldo's obviously got the biggest one, I think there's a few competing just behind him as well, and I don't think that serves a football club very well when you're trying to push through a long season. In terms of Chelsea, I still think they're a fantastic side, but it's just whether they have the stamina to keep that up for another 8-9 months. I think that's going to be their biggest challenge. I think that's going to be our biggest challenge as well, if we're being realistic. We haven't got the greatest of depths. Me and Nick were discussing through the week when we were talking about the League Cup, and we've probably got a good second string side that can take us forward in cups. But when we get to that nitty gritty part of the season, where we're talking about quarterfinals of the Champions League, we're talking about midweek games, in the league as well as that. That's when it starts getting difficult. That's when the legs start getting heavy. Have we got the quality to keep that up? If things go our way and we're not having a midfield injury crisis, then we do potentially. But it's in terms of what our rivals are doing, I think our rivals can still do fantastic things, as much as it pains me to say that. But like I say, in terms of Manchester City, they seem to crumble in the most unusual times. Manchester United are banging heads against each other. I don't think they're going to achieve anything. I think they'll be really happy when they get to the Europa League final again. And I think Chelsea... I think Chelsea can potentially offer something, but again, I think it's just whether they've got the legs to see out the season.
Well, all of you guys in the comments, I want to hear your answers to this as we wrap up the show. This is the last thing I want to talk about just as we go. Very, very quick fire. I'm going to start with you, Pete. Porto and City predictions. This is a big week in Liverpool Football Club's history, at least for the history for this season, because like we said, we can put this Brentford result completely to bed if we beat Porto and then we beat City on the weekend. It's almost like Brentford didn't happen, and then we go with Jurgen Klopp. It's 1 point gained, perhaps. Pete, can you give us a very quick fire prediction for Porto and City? What do you think very quickly will happen?
I don't think I can do it quickly, but I don't know if I can do it quickly, but I can do the best I can. Look, I think Porto, we win. I think we win against Porto, although they've been quite good this year in Portugal. But then again, that's like the Scottish League or the A-League. There's only a couple of good teams. Then there's the City game. Now, the City game will actually just come down to the midfield. If our midfield is okay, we should be okay in that match. But it's something that, for me, the City match, I think they're our biggest title rivals. I think their start had nothing to do with anything, the way they, in terms of challenging. I think between us and them is for the title, and I said that ages ago, and I'll stay the same. I think Chelsea hit Gear 5 too early, and I think they will eventually start to drop off. I don't know how you can say City were lucky to win despite saying they were superior. I think they deserve that win completely. They absolutely dominated them, and they were lucky it was only one. So City, I don't know, George. If we
we'll
don't
know
track
more
our runners
from the training ground, we'll know more from the training ground.
If we don't track our runners, we're in big trouble. But I think that's a game that the Anfield crowd will have a lot more to play with.
Remy says here, when it comes to Porto, don't forget we don't travel well in Europe. Hopefully we do travel well. I think the lads haven't had a good holiday in front of opposition fans for a while, so maybe they'll be keen on the holiday to Portugal. We are away, aren't we? I'll ask you, James.
Yeah, but
we are away.
City play PSG. City play PSG midweek.
They got a big game.
So they got to worry about that game too. That's the game they can't, relax with.
I don't know about travelling away to Porto. The last time they beat us was... never in the last 6 or 7 games. We've had a 4-1 win, a 5-0 win away. We beat them on a draw. That's where we got through with the away goals. Beat them 2-0, beat them 4-1. So I don't see anything that would have us worried at the moment with Porto. I mean, unless they're absolutely killing it in their league at the moment, which for all intents and purposes at the moment, they've had a few... I've had a lot of draws, actually, so a few big wins, a few draws, but so long as you don't lose this game, I think you'll be okay if he plays a couple of second-string players or whatever, but The City game, there is no margin for error when it comes to City. We've seen what a margin of error can do of millimeters 2 years ago, you know what I mean? And that still cooks me, that clearance off the line. So when you're talking about no margins, there literally are no margins for error against Man City anytime we play.
Yeah. James, you got a couple of ideas about how we'll go? Maybe, Porto in the middle of the week and then City on the weekend. Can we forget about Brentford? Do you think we'll be forgetting about Brentford?
I think we beat Porto, but I think we'll see a much changed side. Gomez, Kanate come into the centre-back pairing for me personally, and Van Dijk will be rested. I think Tsimikas will play against Porto, and it will go with Robbo as tried and tested against City. I may even think that we see Trent playing both of those games. The midfield three is going to be the midfield three. It's very difficult to provide, a bit of rotation in there. And I think Origi comes back in against Porto also to play. Salah will play for sure. I think Mane will be rested and Jota will go wide. So I think you see Jota, Origi, and Salah. But I think that's enough. I think that's enough to beat Porto. To be fair, heading into the City game, it's at home. Look, it's a bit of a techie one, solely because, like PK said, if we don't track the runners, we're in for a long afternoon. If we don't track the runners, there's a lot. That's going to be a lot of pain. If we just don't track the runners, if we go in there and we fight fire with fire, and we rough them up and we get in amongst them early doors, we beat them. We've got to unsettle them and not allow them to get into their rhythm. And that's where we win that game. I don't think we'll have all of the ball. City will have a lot more ball than us, but it's about how quickly we win it back and how good we are in transition to exploit the spaces which their forward players are going to leave. We talk about Kyle Walker trying to get forward, Cancelo trying to get forward and almost pack that midfield out. If we can exploit those spaces and we can allow Salah and Mane to play in those pockets as the kind of the inverted wingers, so to speak, and the combination plays good, we should get joy out of them, because I don't think Diaz and Stones are the partnership they were last year. I think that's not clicked so far this season. Laporte's becoming a little bit as well. Aki may even play because I think they've got injuries. I can't remember who's injured, but I think even
Stones is injured, so they play with it will be Diaz. It'll be Diaz and Laporte this week though. They're both back.
Yeah. So Diaz and Laporte, and I think that partnership could be disrupted because Diaz, he had a good season last season, but he's not really started this season in the same rich vein of form, which only place to end is just to say that Virgil van Dijk is still the best centre-back in the Premier League, if not world football.
Oh, wow. That's a great place for us to end here. Well, I also just wanted to remind everybody we do have the training ground coming up this week. It's going to be a great show because it is going to be pre-City. Me and Pete are going to go through lots of footage, archive footage. We can't show the footage, obviously, on our show, but we will show you screenshots.
Do we go live, George, for the first time ever?
Maybe we go live. You know what, guys? You guys want to join us on Thursday? It'll be this time, basically, 8 p.m. on the Thursday. Oh, that's going to be difficult. I'm moving that day. We'll see, Pete. Let's see if we go live. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see how we go. But either way, the show's going to be on. It's going to be on 8 p.m. Australian time, which is whatever that is, 11 a.m. UK time for all you guys watching over there. But it's going to be a great training ground. Probably going to be our most highly anticipated one. And the thing is, Pete and I don't know our predictions for the game, although I tried to get one out of all of you guys here right now. But we'll get a much stronger idea as to how Liverpool can beat City. And that's kind of how we are framing these shows now, these training ground shows. How do we beat the team? How do we beat the team that we're about to play? That we had last week was how do we beat Brentford. This week it'll be how do we beat Manchester City. Nick, do we have any shows coming up for you? We've got Redfix and Chill.
Yes, we do. We've got the Red Fix on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Looking ahead to the City game, plus talking everything Liverpool, probably some transfer news as TF touched on before on the whole, Basuma, is he possibly a target? Do we look at someone else? But the whole January, African Cup of Nations. And that's another thing as well. If we lose a few key players for the Africa Cup of Nations, then our front line is completely cactus. And if we need midfielders, our midfielders are going to be in the front line. So are we going to bring youth back into the squad? That could be a conversation to be had there. But same time, 8 p.m. Australia time. I think it's 11 a.m. UK time. Wednesday night, Tuesday lunchtime. Wednesday lunchtime for the mid-morning, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and as always, Training Ground will always get it right. You guys, we're also going to put some content out this week about how many times we've got it right on the Training Ground. Not to make our heads grow even more, but last but not least, I do want to ask you, Thiago's father, James, what are you thinking in terms of shows this week? Is there anything you want to plug from the Red Sea lads over in the UK?
Yeah, we've got a really, really jam-packed week coming up. We have got the Fab Four on tonight, which our very own PK joins us for. We're going to be looking at the Porto preview because obviously Liverpool go to Porto on Tuesday night. So that's going to be a cracking show. We're then obviously going to have the Manchester City preview as well, which is one to look out for also, which will again be another Fab Four show. So guys, make sure you're keeping it Red Sea Podcast across both of our channels, which is the Red Sea Pod Down Under and the Red Sea Podcast in the UK. And yeah, catch me on my social as well, Thiago's Father 89. I'm always active on the Twitter, reading the right act to a certain rival fans, mainly Chelsea fans, because I can't stand those guys. But yeah, lots of activity on my Twitter all the time.
Well, mate, thank you so much for coming down under, joining us down under here on the Match Debate. You are now a match debater, and that does not get old, me mentioning the punny nature of our show name. It's been great to have you on, Nick, Pete, as always, Jimmy, Robbo. Hopefully you can smarten up your act against City. And hopefully this week is a week where we forget about Brentford. If we get a win against Porto and a win against City, who the hell is Brentford anyway? Up the Reds, and we'll see you next time.